Thanks for coming. Mark Thompson has today indicated that at the end of this season he feels exhausted and wants to reassess his coaching future. He has told me that the issue isn't whether he goes to Essendon or in fact any other club, but the real issue is rather if he wishes to continue coaching at all. The club has advised Mark to speak to his closest associates, friends and family before he makes any decision on his coaching future at Geelong. The club's indicated to Mark that we hope he fulfills his contract, which has 1 year to go, but only if he is fully committed to coaching. We expect a decision from Mark sooner rather than later. In the meantime, we will inform all of our stakeholders of this most recent development.
So Brian, when you say fully committed to coaching, is that fully committed to coaching Geelong?
Yes, it is, yes.
So if he came to you and said that he was keen to pursue a challenge at Essendon,
yes,
you'd release him?
Mark's already indicated to us that he's not going to Essendon. That's not the issue. The issue is whether he continues coaching at all.
Do you see this coming, Brian? Have you seen signs of Mark that
look, not really. We saw signs of tiredness, and I think we've made that public for some time. And we did engage with Mark on the possibility of him taking, say, 3 months' leave and leaving his assistants to organise and carry out the pre-season. And so he was considering that. But in the meantime, this has happened. So yeah, it's not a complete surprise, but it's certainly hit us a bit.
Brian, sooner rather than later is what you said. I mean, obviously trade week's coming up. It's a busy time when you start the pre-season. How long until you have to have the decision from him?
No, we need a decision soon because you've got trade week, you've got list management meetings, you've got player contracts, you've got selection of new staff. You have lots of issues, and so you're dead right. We need an answer soon. Does that mean tomorrow? No, probably not tomorrow. Does it mean the weekend? It's getting closer because trade week starts next week. So whilst we have some flexibility, we can't have a lot of flexibility for the sake of the club. At the end of the day, whilst we're really concerned about Mark's welfare, we have to look after the future of this football club.
What's the contingency plan in the meantime? Is there a plan for someone else to take over the reins immediately should he say, I can't do anything?
No, there's no plans at this stage to do that.
When did he come to you, Brian? Like you said, you talked about maybe a sabbatical. When did he come to you and say, look, I'm exhausted, I don't know if I want to do anything?
11 a.m. this morning.
Did he say he'd been approached by the Bombers?
Yes, he'd been approached by the Bombers. More so from the past player element and friends, as distinct from the formal hierarchy, but he has been approached by the formal hierarchy. But in Mark's own words, he doesn't wish to go there.
Yeah. Was that an approach to coach them, or did you take on this?
Look, I'm not sure. I didn't go into all of those things. My major concern was about Mark and his future at Geelong and him coaching Hugh Jonesy, so I didn't drill into that too much. I do know he got a formal... well, no, I don't even know that. I do know that he had contact with the hierarchy at Essendon, and that's all I know.
Is he likely to set up for the best of parents?
Oh, gee, I hope so. It'd be great if he could.
How confident are you that he might stay on?
Oh, I just hope he does. I hope that he fulfills his contract because he is a great coach. The unfortunate reality is that he's, in our opinion, and we're not medicos, but he is suffering some form of burnout after 11 years. He's reassessing his life, he's reassessing his future, and we're caught in the middle of all that. But I hope he coaches us next year. But as I said, you would only want a coach who's completely committed to the cause, and he agrees with that. And the media release that you've got here today, which is albeit small, has been approved also by Mark and his management. So we're trying to do this together.
So Brian, what do you say you'd like to have an answer by the weekend?
Yeah.
Obviously being mindful of the situation at the same time, it must be really hard to sort of balance the two out.
Oh, it's really difficult because the other option is to say, Mark, we trust that you will be committed in 3 months' time, so take 3 months off. And we'll see you then. That's fine, but the other reality to that is that he may not be committed in 3 months, in which case, you might have a few problems. So I'm not so sure our club can probably take that risk at this point of time.
So is there a decision you need to make as well that, well, maybe you have to make the decision, because come round 11 next year, if he's faltering through exhaustion, then where does that leave you?
Yeah. We may be forced into that position, but we would hope that Mark makes that decision first, Jonesy.
How do you think supporters will take this news?
I think with surprise. I also hope with some empathy and some understanding that the coaching is a pretty tough job. And after 11 years of a pretty hectic journey that we've been on, there's some burnout here. I think people can relate to that. I hope they can relate to that. I think what has caused the issue for us is just the surprise element at this late stage, I think. And it may be the same with members.
You've been such a cornerstone of this strong football department, and so has Mark, obviously, for the past 4 or 5 years. How did you receive the news, and where did you find that today?
Virtually the same time as Brian. No, we're very surprised, but I mean, you think that all of our people are bulletproof, so you don't think that they suffer from the normal things. But I suppose Mark has been indicating a couple of times that he's, I'm not going to coach after next year, all those sorts of things he's been suggesting, and we all think, oh yeah, of course, why wouldn't you want to do this job? So it does come as a shock, but I must say I believe everything that he said. I mean, he's not just stacking on an act. I reckon he's a bit puffed out, and he needs to just think about whether he wants to do it. And I think the important thing is that he knows he needs to decide whether he really wants to have a crack at it. If he's totally committed, he'll get every support from here. But if he's not, he probably won't do it. And I think that's a reasonable position.
Well, what do you think it says about just generally in the AFL, the head coach's job at the moment? Is it too stressful for people to handle over a long period of time?
Yeah, we've often discussed it. I think in lots of ways all of the pressure comes to the one person, and all of the power and all of the responsibility. So maybe that's not such a good thing. I think when you do it well, I think they really enjoy it, and when the pressure comes on, I think they feel it. I don't think until you've been in there and step away, you understand the anxiety that goes with this sort of job. But the ones that are good really love it, though, I think.
Brian, there's a real prospect by the end of the week we could be saying goodbye to your dual premiership coach and one of your greatest players. That must be a pretty disturbing prospect for you.
Yeah, it is, and we've been together 11 years, all of us. Not you, Neil, but the rest of it.
Feels like 11.
Yeah, and you form close friendships. So this, on one hand, you wanted to see this as a business arrangement, but on the other, you understand it's impossible to do that because of the friendships you have. And that's the case with Mark, I'll admit that, and I think most people would. He's been outstanding for this club, and we need to give him opportunity to make a decision.
Brian, have you got any reaction from the playing group?
We've spoken to the player group. When I say we, Neil Balme and Steve Hocking in particular have, and gone and spoke to every player. And my understanding, and Steve, are you here? No? Okay. My understanding is that they were appreciative of the fact that we told them what was going on, but a little surprised at the same time.
Brian, why is there so much surprise associated with this? Are there no telltale signs whatsoever? Like obviously his performance on match day would suggest.
Yeah.
Yeah, the players sort of say, oh, that would make sense.
Yeah, I didn't speak to players, other people did. But I think his behaviour around the club over the past week has been that he's here for next year. Yeah. That's probably the major indicator.
Yeah, I think the surprise is because the guys in that position, they just do it. You just don't expect them to not do it. There's been really no indication, apart from Mark saying at one stage that maybe it wouldn't be bad to have a bit of extra time off in pre-season, but I think everyone would probably enjoy that. So there were really no signs to be fair.
Brian, in your conversations with Mark today, is there a sense that there's a pretty strong media report today that he's going to Essendon? Right? They were pretty adamant, again on the radio. Did that bring matters to a head in Mark's mind that I have to make a call here? I'm
not sure. I spoke to Mark earlier this morning and arranged the meeting after the report in the Australian today in particular. Because there's been rumours around for some weeks about this occurring, and we've approached Mark on that basis as to whether the rumours were correct or incorrect, and each time Mark said they were incorrect. And by the way, the rumour was, are you going to Essendon? And he still has that position that he's not going to Essendon. And so in terms of whether people are being honest, I'm completely sure that Mark's been honest in terms of his future. What I didn't ask is, are you tired of coaching? And had I have asked that, I'm sure I would have got a different response. So hopefully that answers your question.
Brian, if Mark does come to you and say, look, we're going to take a 3-month break, are you confident that he'll come back and stay on? Or
Yeah, the
take
guy.
a little
Yeah.
bit longer than 3 months?
If Mark was completely committed to the cause and said that, I would believe, and I think everyone in the football club would. And so you would, and Mark's a really honest guy. He will tell us how he sees it, how he feels. One thing I've found about Mark over the 11 years, he's pretty straight.
Brian, if Mark was to turn around and say that I really don't have the passion to be the head coach anymore, but still want to be involved, is there a possibility that the club could look at maybe making a director of coaching or that sort of mentor type role available?
Yeah, it's something you would look at, but look, you know, if it helps the club, yes. But you know, you don't compromise the club for the sake of one individual, and whether that's a player, a coach. I would take that to the board and the executive team and have a long chat about that. But the overriding and driving factor is, would it be good for the club?
So Brian, the other issues.
Sorry, Brian. If without delving too much into his contract, if he was to come to you and say, "Listen, I'm out," can you then freeze him out of any other club for 2011?
We wouldn't do that, Jonesy. If someone's mind and soul is elsewhere, we've never stood in anyone's way to go to that particular place. And in times we've actually helped them. You know, with a Stephen King to go to St Kilda and those sorts of. So we've been a relatively flexible, I think, human club. I think with Mark, whatever decision he makes, we'll support. I don't want to get into the contract. You'd understand, I don't want to get into the terms of his current contract.
Brian, do you think a definitive decision by Balme either way could influence that of Gary on his playing future?
Yeah, we spoke about that today, and we spoke to Liam Pickering as well. And that's Gary's manager, and Liam's indicating that Gary will make a decision by the end of the week. So I don't think I've got a feeling he's probably made his decision. Whether it will have an effect on that decision, I can't answer.
How was he this morning? Was he down? Was he a bit emotional?
Yeah, he's very, very tired, very down. Yeah, quite burned out, I think. I was a little bit worried about him. I still am.
If he was to stay on, would you look at beefing up your football department to assist him?
Oh, I don't know. What do you reckon, Balme?
Well, I don't really think. I think we've got a pretty strong footy department. We've got a lot of support in the assistant coaches and a fair bit of experience. I don't think that's the issue for him. I don't think he needs help as such. I think it's just the enormity of the job. I mean, whether he wants to do it or not, he'll simply know whether he wants to or not. I would think. I don't think he really needs any particular help with it.
Brian, just going back to your last comment, you mentioned you're a bit worried about him. Does he need to go and talk to someone, or?
Yeah, well, the advice that was provided was go speak to your family, your friends, seek assistance as you need it, and we're here to help. Anything we can do, we'll help with. But his foremost priority was to speak to his family, his partner, his brother, his player manager, and then come back after that. Yeah. I probably think so. Yeah. I mean, he's indicated he's not. My feeling is, if he doesn't coach, he won't go to a club at all. I just think he'll go into property development and some other areas that he's got interest in at this point of time. But if he went to another club, then you would have to support that.
How much of a disappointment? How much would it gut the club if you were to lose both Balme and Gary?
What about Frank Costa?
And Frank Costa too.
Yeah, the world goes around. We were in a much worse position 11 years ago when Gary Ayres left us, Lee Colbert left us, and we were $10 million down. This club has some strength. It's strong, and whatever happens, we'll get through it, and we'll get some good people around as we usually have, and continue to strengthen the pillars of this footy club.